I'm Nichole Berlie. It is Monday, July 19th. This is Rush Hour. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are following several developing stories around your nation now. Lots of pandemic headlines unfolding tonight. We start in California, spiking cases of the Delta variant as indoor mask mandates return. Meantime, the CDC on defense in Georgia after a former Surgeon General said rolling back those mask mandates was a premature move. And as parts of the country are pushed to their tipping point, are lockdowns on their way back? And in Florida, hospitalizations for Delta variant cases are rising. Experts say unvaccinated people may be to blame. And the fresh concerns over a potential COVID resurgence sending shockwaves through Wall Street. The S&P 500 tumbled 1.6%. The Dow fell more than 700 points. That is a more than 2% drop. Of course, we'll have more on the slumping stocks and the rest of the pandemic headlines in just a moment. But we start in Florida with NewsNation correspondent Brian Enton. And Brian, we really know Florida, one of the areas hardest hit by the Delta variant right now.
Yeah, Nicole, the Delta variant on the rise around the country, but Florida has really emerged as a hot spot. At this hospital behind me in Miami, Jackson Health, they say the number of COVID patients they have has more than doubled in just 2 weeks. And just like at hospitals around the country, they say that 95% of their COVID patients are unvaccinated. Still, about 50% of Americans have not been fully vaccinated. We wanted to find out why people are not getting the shot. We were set up today to meet with a group of unvaccinated Americans. Only one of them showed up. The others said they feared going public. They were worried they could lose their jobs for not getting the vaccine. Why haven't you gotten the vaccine?
Well, I mean, that's a really personal question, but I did agree to come and sit down with you to talk about this. So I don't believe that I need it. I'm a healthy person.
Does the Delta variant make you worried?
Absolutely not.
Do you think if the government wasn't so pushy about it, more people would get it?
Absolutely. But the government right now is acting like an obnoxious salesman.
What about people who say, I don't want to do what the government's telling me to do?
I think that what they need to look at is not whether the government is telling them to do something or not, but what makes sense in terms of their own health. The vaccine is going to lower your risk dramatically.
And while there is, of course, a lot of concern about the Delta variant, important to keep some perspective here. At this hospital behind me in Miami right now, they have 139 COVID patients. 1 year ago, at the height of the pandemic, they had 485 COVID patients. Nicole?
Oh, yeah, Brian, that's a big difference there. All right, Brian, thank you. Well, three big stories we are watching right now. Could lockdowns be back as those COVID cases spike? The CDC pushing back after criticism from a former Surgeon General, plus some new mask guidance in Kentucky. Experts urging a return to masks indoors, but stopping short of requiring them. But in California, masks are mandatory indoors in LA County, and that's where Nancy Liu is live. So, Nancy, what's the reaction to the return of these mask mandates?
Well, Nicole, there's a sense of disappointment and also frustration. The indoor mask mandate returned here to LA County as of yesterday, and while compliance appears pretty high, it is not without some pushback. The mask requirement signs are back up at businesses all over LA County, the nation's most populous with 10 million residents. Like much of the country, COVID cases are up sharply here due to the Delta variant, with nearly all infections among the unvaccinated. The county's reinstatement of the mask mandate goes beyond the recommendations of the state and CDC.
Now we have, a large percentage of people that are vaccinated, and those that are unvaccinated will eventually just get it, and you would think the rates would go down. So it doesn't seem to be backed by science, and it's just, heavy-handed local politicians being a little crazy, in my opinion.
My suspicion is that a number of people who were not vaccinated were perhaps not wearing masks, saying that they were vaccinated, and now we all have to wear masks, so we all have to wear masks.
Now, many health departments across the country and about a dozen other California counties are actively recommending indoor mask use in public, but only LA has made it mandatory. Now, despite calls for New York City to follow LA's lead, today New York Mayor Bill de Blasio indicated there are no plans for reinstatement, saying that vaccinations are the more suitable route for now. Nichole?
All right, no plans for now there in New York City. All right, Nancy, thank you. All right, let's get to Janelle Fort. She's outside the CDC in Atlanta. So, Janelle, CDC experts relaxed mask mandates as cases dropped. But now, of course, the Trump administration Surgeon General saying that really just happened too soon.
Yeah, Nichole, in a series of tweets, former U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams says that he believes that the CDC really jumped the gun on easing mask mandates, and he's urging the agency to admit that it's wrong and reverse course before it's too late. This is a big flip to some of his earlier messaging about the virus and mask wearing, but it's something that he felt the need to come onto Twitter and talk about, and it comes as the highly contagious Delta variant is rapidly spreading across the country. It's now the dominant strain of the virus. We know the CDC is calling this a pandemic of unvaccinated at this point. Current U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy has said he supports individual counties reinstating mask mandates to combat this surge, but the CDC hasn't come out and said that it will reissue a mask advisory as the Delta variant spreads. It's ramped up some of its efforts to get people vaccinated. Back in May, when the CDC first issued guidance relaxing masking, they did so under this honor system. And you kind of heard that from the woman that talked in Nancy's story, where you assume that if someone isn't wearing a mask indoors, that they're vaccinated. Now, unfortunately, that's not always the case, and health experts say that that's something that they're running into. It's a big challenge that they're running into, Nichole.
Yeah, the honor system certainly doesn't always work. All right, Janelle, no rainy Atlanta there. Thank you. All right, multiple states, of course, approaching that COVID tipping point. That's according to some health experts. And the state of Missouri actually dealing with an especially alarming resurgence. Jacob Kittelstad from our Kansas City station WDAF joining us now. So, Jacob, doctors there are saying really this spike is no surprise.
Yes, doctors here in Kansas City say that they are seeing a steady increase in the number of COVID cases and COVID hospitalizations. Doctors at the University of Kansas Hospital say that they saw this all coming. As cases creep up, talk about mask mandates and new lockdowns are resurfacing. So far, no shutdowns are being put in effect yet in Kansas City, but health workers here say those restrictions may not be far off if things do not improve. This weekend, the number of new cases in the Kansas City metro area jumped more than 30% compared to the previous week. That's according to data tracked by the Mid-America Regional Council. New hospitalizations also increased by nearly 15% over the past week. At this point, hospitals report the majority of people admitted due to COVID are not vaccinated. The average age of hospitalized patients have also dropped dramatically. Now, Missouri is not alone in this newest wave of COVID. Arizona, Alabama, and also the state of Maine are also seeing the spike, Nichole.
For us tonight. Thank you so much. Well, as COVID cases rise, of course, as we told you earlier, the stock market also feeling the effects. Of course, its worst drop in months. White House correspondent Allison Harris live now from the White House. Allison, what's the reaction right now in Washington?
Well, Nichole, President Biden, speaking from the White House today, said that we have brought the economy back from the brink, citing the fastest job growth at this point in any administration's history. The president touting that in his first 6 months here in office, they've seen job growth go from 60,000 new jobs in a month to 60,000 new jobs every 3 days. But at the same time, all across the country, there are millions of jobs remaining open. Employers saying that they can't find workers to fill those jobs. And now all across the country, COVID cases are going up in all 50 states. Today, you're seeing the stock market reacting to that. The Dow closing down 700 points, down 900 points as of this afternoon. The president defending his administration pumping stimulus money, millions and trillions of dollars of stimulus money into the economy, saying that this rising cost that we're seeing on everything from gas to groceries is temporary.
In 6 months into my administration, the U.S. economy has experienced the highest economic growth rate in nearly 40 years. Most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way.
Now, Republicans like House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy are blaming what they call the administration's massive increases in government spending, a proposed $3.5 trillion, on the rising costs, saying it's a key driver of these price increases. As for the stock market, there are analysts who say that this is optimistic, that stocks will be able to recover, but there's a larger question here as to whether the U.S. has reached an economic tipping point, that this is the peak of the U.S.'s economic recovery and that is now going to slow just as our vaccination rates are slowing, that this could be a stalling from here on out of our job growth and slowing our return to that pre-pandemic America. Nichole?
Yeah, really tough day for those retirement accounts. Allison, thank you. Well, elsewhere in D.C. today, Democrats using a rare field hearing in Georgia to try and draw attention to their voting and elections overhaul, which does remain blocked by Republican opposition. Joe Khalil live in the Capitol. So, Joe, Democrats really trying to keep the spotlight on this issue.
Yeah, they are. And one way they're doing that, Nichole, is you take the show on the road. Senate Democrats holding that hearing on voting rights in Georgia. It's actually the first official Senate hearing like that in 20 years outside of Washington. But Georgia, obviously a strategic place to talk about voting rights, according to Senator Amy Klobuchar, who led the hearing, Georgia being one of those 19 states that either passed already or are working to pass new election laws that Democrats argue may make it harder for mostly Democratic-leaning communities of color to vote. Now, Senator Klobuchar was joined by both Georgia senators, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, and they all highlighted a couple of key parts of Georgia's new voting law that they say is an assault on voting rights. And while this hearing today was Georgia-specific, Nichole, it really was a larger attempt to try to make a broad case to Congress that they need to pass legislation on a national level that would combat or at least slow down some of the changes that states like Georgia and Texas are trying to make.
So much of the progress that Americans have fought for, that are documented in this museum, that Americans have died for, is at stake. It is no coincidence that this assault on the freedom to vote is happening just after the 2020 election.
In the meantime, Georgia's governor, Brian Kemp, he pushed back today. He released a 2-minute video on Twitter saying that the law makes Georgia elections secure, accessible, and fair. Those were his words. He also says it'll help voters regain trust in their elections. Meantime, state lawmakers from Texas, they're continuing to make basically the same argument that you heard Senators Klobuchar and the others make today in Georgia. A group of Texas Democrats are still in Washington. This is the second week they're here, and they have a busy schedule today, packed with events all relating to the fight over voting rights. Clearly, Nichole, they are also trying to keep the spotlight on this issue. Nichole?
Yeah, not a lot of agreement there between Dems and Republicans. Joe, thank you. Well, a Florida man sentenced to 8 months in prison today for his involvement in the U.S. Capitol riot. Paul Hodgkins pleaded guilty to obstruction of an official proceeding after storming the Senate chamber in January. NewsNation's Walt Buteau from our Tampa station WFLA has been following this case. So, Walt, tell us what happened in court today.
So roughly a 2-hour hearing, Paul Hodgkins' attorney taking up about 46 minutes of that, asking for leniency from the court. Prosecutors wanted an 18-month prison time sentence. The defense was saying they wanted home confinement. The judge settles on 8 months in prison, 24 months of supervised release, and a $2,000 restitution payment. Hodgkins, by the way, says he's remorseful. He's actually ashamed, he says. He took part in it, and also says this: it was a surprise to him that what he called a protest developed into what turned into a riot.
All right, so, Walt, this is a big deal. You know, he's calling it a protest. Hodgkins is the first person sentenced in the insurrection to face some actual prison time. So what does this mean going forward for all of the others facing charges?
So the question now is, does this set the bar at 8 months for, by the way, what everyone really considers a minor actor in this? Keep in mind, he was in the Capitol, according to court documents, a total of 15 minutes. Did not cause any damage, according to prosecutors, didn't injure anyone. He waved a flag, a Donald Trump flag, on the floor and then left. A 15-minute stay in the Capitol brings him 8 months in prison. So what about the 550 other current defendants? We have hundreds of other open cases. What will happen to them, especially the ones who do not enter into plea agreements with the government? We'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, very consequential 15 minutes there. Well, okay, before we let you go, obviously we're talking the Capitol here. Announced today, Capitol Police have a new leader.
J. Thomas Manger, a former police chief in Maryland and Virginia, is said to be the new leader, according to the Associated Press. The Associated Press citing two sources. He would replace Stephen Sund, who you might remember resigned a short time after the insurrection. He, of course, was asked to resign by Nancy Pelosi.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, long suspected, now official, the White House publicly blaming China for an attack on Microsoft's Exchange email. It compromised tens of thousands of computers worldwide. Hackers gaining access to some massive troves of sensitive data. NewsNation's Tom Negevin live in New York with the story. And Tom, we're talking some potential consequences here.
Right. Very, very significant, Nicole. You know, this was once the exclusive domain, if you will, of North Korea and Russia. China focused for the most part on industrial espionage. Well, no longer, according to the Biden administration, the EU, the UK, and all of our country's NATO allies officially blaming China for a massive attack on Microsoft Exchange email servers. Their software back in January saying Beijing worked directly with criminal hackers in ransomware attacks and other cyber operations, basically, Nicole, fostering a system of hackers for hire on China's payroll in the hope of reaping benefits globally from businesses and from governments. The sub-headline here, you already mentioned, no sanctions, at least not at this early stage. So far, just the strongest possible words, letting China know the West is on to them. It was a very broad range of cyber threats revealed today. Separately, the Justice Department also announced that a grand jury has returned indictments against 4 Chinese nationals for being involved in this very thing, for trying to use hacking methods to commit acts of industrial espionage, but very particular acts in some cases. Research on infectious diseases, Nicole, including Ebola and AIDS.
Well, and Tom, I just wanted to ask you really quickly. I know you've done reporting on this. You followed these hacking stories. Many times we're talking about Russian hackers. Now we're talking hackers out of China.
Out of China, and even Israeli software being used. That was among the most recent stories. A report just released reveals activists and politicians around the world are being hacked using a very specific software sold by an Israeli surveillance company. The software is called Pegasus. It's sold by the NSO Group, which is facing some questions tonight, as you'd imagine, Nicole, about who it licensed its software to. The Israeli government facing some questions as well.
All right, Tom Negevin, thank you. Well, let's breaking news now from the West Coast. Utility company PE&G admitting their equipment may have started another California wildfire. This is a big deal because back in 2018, the company linked to a fire that killed 85 people in Paradise, California. Albert Ramon live in the Weather Center tonight. So, Albert, right now more than a dozen major fires burning on the West Coast.
Yeah, including that bootleg fire now at over 340,000 acres. This is a look at all the smoke and fires happening across the United States. And in gray, that's the smoke. Jet stream winds 20 to 30,000 feet, taking the smoke in portions of Canada as well as the Pacific Northwest, in places like the Midwest and even the Northeast. And here's a close-in view of the Northwest. And most of this is cloud cover, but if you look real closely, some of this gray, that's smoke associated with the bootleg fire, and even down here towards the south, that is a look at the Dixie fire north of Sacramento. So let me show you what's going on. We have a red flag warning that remains in effect. That's high fire danger in much of not just the northern Rockies, but Pacific Northwest, including where those active fires are burning in south central Oregon. And what we're looking at here is the wind forecast. Next 2 afternoons and evenings, increase in wind, so that's going to start to elevate the fire danger even more in the latter part of the day. Speaking of some of these fires, some video here of all the numerous fires that are burning out towards the west. We're talking about wind gusts potentially in some areas gusting close to 30, if not exceeding 30 miles per hour. And along with the fire danger, there is some lightning associated with thunderstorms in central and southwestern areas of the West, and that could trigger later this week additional wildfires, something that we'll be keeping an eye on all week long. Nicole?
All right, Albert, we know you're keeping an eye on it. A lot happening tonight on Rush Hour. We're just days away from opening ceremonies in Japan, but more positive COVID cases popping up in the athlete village. And some fresh perspective after a shooting outside an MLB ballpark. Let's Taking a live look in Japan as we are now just 4 days from the Olympic Games, and it is COVID, not the athletes, grabbing headlines. NewsNation's Adrian Bankert joining us now. So, Adrian, doesn't seem like good news here. The number of positive cases just continues growing.
Yeah, and this is crazy. The games are just a few days away, as you were talking about. It's already beginning to be a games like no other as we receive these daily updates on who is out and who is in, not based on the medal counts or the scores, but on those positive COVID test results. 3 USA athletes who were still stateside. USA men's basketball team member Zach LaVine from Chicago. He'll not be traveling with the team. We're told he's under a health and safety protocol, so we're not really sure whether that means he is infected with COVID or not, but he's still under those health protocols and will not be going. WNBA player Katie Lou Samuelson of the Seattle Storm will not be traveling to Tokyo after testing positive for COVID-19. She said she's vaccinated. And last week, tennis star Coco Gauff announced that she would not be traveling to the games, ranked 23rd in the world. She tested positive for COVID-19, tweeting her disappointment and wished everyone a safe games. A USA gymnast already in Tokyo has tested positive and is now under quarantine. Kara Aker is an alternate for Team USA. She has not had any symptoms, and she too says she received the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the IOC says that as of today, 58 people associated with the games, that's athletes, personnel, contractors, and media in Japan, have tested positive for COVID and have been quarantined. Aker will have to remain in isolation for 10 days before being allowed to return to the U.S.
In Japan, 2 positives means you've got it. She's followed to the letter of the law and done everything right, and she still winds up with positive tests. So that's crazy.
It is crazy and frustrating. As some teams start to arrive in Tokyo, we've got a beautiful shot for you from Japan. We've heard other athletes saying how frustrating it is, not just because they haven't been able to play now, but because despite being vaccinated, they still tested positive. We hope that everyone gets a clean bill of health very soon. Nicole.
Yeah, Adrian, the whole, getting the shot and then testing positive, that makes me nervous. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Lots more to cover tonight on Rush Hour, including a police department shakeup in Chicago, how the mayor is expanding civilian oversight of the police department. Plus, a community left stunned and heartbroken after 4 deaths at a Michigan music festival. That's ahead in your nation. Well, Chicago working toward a change in police oversight. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. But meantime, criminals across the country appear to be more bold. They're putting innocent people in danger just over the weekend. People in 2 cars shot at each other near the Washington Nationals ballpark, and this happened in the middle of a game. Let's bring in NewsNation's Felicia Bolton. She's been following the story. So, Felicia, D.C. police any closer to a motive on this?
Yeah, that's the big question today. So far, there has not been a motive announced by police or anyone connected to this. But I'm going to start with showing you some of the video just so you can see the chaos that took place. Officials, though, made it very clear at no time were any of the fans inside of this stadium in danger or a target, but the shooting still caused mass confusion. Video right here shows fans even stampeding over each other, some of them even ducking for cover when they heard shots ring out. Players and coaches, they took their family into the dugout for safety when they heard that gunfire. Described the moments after hearing those gunshots as chaos. Hundreds of people ran out of the stands during the Washington Nationals and San Diego Padres game on Saturday. And since the shooting, D.C. police say they have increased patrols near Nationals Park. Investigators say 2 cars exchanged gunfire outside of the stadium. 3 people were hurt, including a woman who was attending the game. She just so happened to be standing outside of there. Through tears, Padres manager Jace Tingler reflects on that moment.
I couldn't be any more proud to be a Padre, to be with the men in there. And obviously they're going out, they're thinking of their loved ones, and they're getting their families, and then it's just human nature. They're seeing fans and seeing people in panic. They did the right thing.
I mean, you can hear the heartbreak in his voice. Investigators, though, they're still looking for additional suspects tonight. The main clue is this suspect vehicle. You're looking at it right now. It's described as a gray Toyota Corolla with a missing hubcap on the rear driver's side wheel and dark tinted windows. It's also displaying a Virginia temporary tag. Police were able to stop the other vehicle and question the people inside. Still no word tonight on any charges. Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Felicia, thank you. Barriers broken on the ice. An NHL prospect announcing he's gay, the first active NHL player under contract, what it means for the league and sports moving forward. Plus, we're now less than 24 hours away from Jeff Bezos' blast off to outer space. NewsNation is live at the launch site. A town 40 minutes west of Ann Arbor, Michigan, mourning the loss of these 3 young men. They were found dead in their camper near a music festival over the weekend. Now, Tony Garcia from our Lansing affiliate WLNS has the story. Tony, this is just an absolute tragic tale.
Yeah, Nicole, that's exactly right. I mean, it was just, like you said, a tragic weekend here in mid-Michigan. 3 young men were all found dead at Faster Horses. That's a country music festival hosted at Michigan International Speedway. It's a 3-day festival that sees almost 40,000 people. So this was around Saturday at 1:30. A group of friends could not get in contact with another group of friends. Texts, phone calls, no reply. They went and checked their trailer and found 5 people unresponsive. They immediately called 911, but they were unable to save 3 of them, as we mentioned, who have since died. 2 of the other people are in critical condition at the hospital. In case this is not all sad enough, all 3 young men went to the same high school, have been very good friends for a long time. They were all elected captains on their high school football team. One was even the 2019 class valedictorian. So again, it's just one of those tragedies that the community is trying to make sense of right now.
All right, and Tony, when will we know that carbon monoxide was actually the official cause of death here?
Yeah, Nicole, that actually is something that we're still waiting on. So I spoke to the parents of one of the young men who died, and he got off the phone with investigators about 2 hours ago at this point. And what they told me is that it's going to take 4 weeks to get the toxicology report back and 12 weeks for the autopsy, So we're looking sometime in that range. However, when he did talk to investigators, they said the condition that the young men were found in, a pink hue to their skin, is a telltale sign. Again, they haven't confirmed it, but it is a sign that it was carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's something that we're going to be monitoring until we hear in about 4 weeks. Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. And no matter what, our hearts just really go out to those families. All right, Tony, thank you. Let's give you a live look now. This is Chicago tonight. It looks like changes coming to policing. Grassroots activists and the city's mayor appear to have agreed to a proposal to create an elected board of civilians to oversee the Chicago Police Department. NewsNation reporter Tamon Bradley with our station WGN is live tonight. Tamon, we of course are based here out of Chicago. This is something people have been pushing for a while.
Good evening, Nicole. For decades, grassroots groups in Chicago have demanded civilian oversight of the police. In 2016, their movement gained steam following the release of dashcam video showing the police killing of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. Today, word of a compromise. Mayor Lori Lightfoot and a coalition of groups announced an agreement on civilian oversight. Under the plan, the mayor would appoint members of a 7-member oversight commission, a major concession from the grassroots. They wanted an elected board. Also, the commission would have authority to draft police policy. For example, if commissioners wanted to abolish officer foot chase pursuits, they could ask commanders to rethink practices. The city's top cop would be accountable to the civilian panel. The commissioners would have the power to take a vote of no confidence in the police superintendent, triggering action by city council. This is another concession. Activists wanted the authority to fire the superintendent. Qualifications for the commission are rigorous. 2 commissioners must have 10 years or more of experience as an attorney, and 1 commissioner must have a decade of work in community organizing. Under the compromise, Mayor Lightfoot retained the power to veto decisions adopted by the board. Lightfoot wanted to keep control, saying she wears the jacket for violence in the city. Now it's up to City Council. Tomorrow, a committee vote is expected ahead of final consideration on Wednesday. Mayor Lightfoot heralded the agreement as historic and transformative, but today, neither the aldermen nor grassroots negotiators who worked on the compromise wanted to discuss the details in public. Multiple sources say, Nicole, no one loves this agreement.
Yeah, it's tough because there's so much happening here in Chicago. All right, Timon, thank you. Jeff Bezos getting ready to step into the final frontier, and that means space tourism closer to becoming reality. NewsNation correspondent Marky Martin live in El Paso. So, Marky, tomorrow is the big launch.
Nichole, tomorrow's the big day. You know, it was just 9 days ago we were in New Mexico for Richard Branson's launch. So tomorrow it's Jeff Bezos' turn. He's launching out of West Texas, specifically Van Horn, which is about 2 hours from where we are now in El Paso. And Nichole, if you want to know how big of an event this is, there's not a single hotel room left in Van Horn, and there's not a single rental car left here in El Paso, 2 hours away. Now, this rocket takes off at 8 o'clock Central tomorrow morning, and perhaps the largest, wildest difference between these two flights, tomorrow's ride is completely automated, meaning there's not a single astronaut, there's not a pilot, there's not a flight engineer on board. It's literally just those 4 crew members. So, of course, you have Jeff Bezos, you have his firefighter brother Mark, you have 82-year-old veteran pilot Wally Funk. She was part of the Mercury 13 who trained to become astronauts in the 60s, never made it to space. And last week, we learned that that final seat went to an 18-year-old, a young man from the Netherlands named Oliver Damon. And we're just now hearing from him for the first time. Take a listen.
I feel responsibility because I'm the youngest in space, and to get more people interested in space, and not even just space, but science, would be such an opportunity for me to do. When I touch down and I get out of the vehicle, I think I'll just speechless.
Yeah, he said, I feel a responsibility. Now, similar to Branson's flight, this ride will only be about 10, 11 minutes long. However, Bezos will travel about 65, 66 miles high. That's past the Kármán line. That's that imaginary line that international agencies consider to be the beginning of space. And also did want to notice, too, or mention, too, tomorrow's the 52nd anniversary of the original moon landing, which is why Bezos chose tomorrow for his launch date. And Nichole will be back on air with you tomorrow night to debrief what is hopefully a safe and sound landing here in West Texas.
Well, Marky, before we let you go, okay, we know that there's that teenager who will be on board. The teen got the seat because someone who had paid, what, like $22 million for their seat had a scheduling conflict. Have we learned yet what the scheduling conflict is, that they, paid $22 million for that seat?
No, and we're waiting on the edge of our seats for that answer, if it ever comes, Nichole. But that first place winner paid $28 million for that seat, and then said, I have to choose another flight due to scheduling conflicts. So it went to the runner-up, and this 18-year-old, his father, won that second seat. That's how he secured the final one.
All right, so I said 22 with $6 million between friends, right? All right, Marky Martin live for us tonight. Thank you. From space to sports, new tonight in Sports Nation, an NHL prospect, now the first active player under contract to come out as gay. Luke Prokop of the Nashville Predators made that announcement on Instagram today, and NewsNation's Corey Curtis from our Nashville station WKRN joining us live. So, Corey, tell us what this means for Prokop, the team, and the league.
Well, it's a historic moment for a league that has done its best to incorporate the LGBTQ community. The saying has been for years now, hockey for everyone, and they're really trying to show they mean that. In an interview today, Prokop's words were pretty strong about how it was the Nashville Predators in an actual conversation with assistant GM Brian Poyle that kind of propelled and encouraged him to come out. Poyle told him the team was behind him 1,000%. And he said after that conversation, the tears rolled down his face because he just felt so much support and liberation. And he felt like every day was going to feel like that after he finally comes out, that he can be himself. And he's gotten support from the team. He's gotten support from team leaders already. And we've seen other teams in the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers, all put out tweets supporting him. And biggest of all, got a call from the commissioner, Gary Bettman, saying, if you need me, you call me.
Yeah, this is awesome because representation makes such a big difference. All right, let's go from NHL to NFL. Big announcement today. Peyton and Eli Manning brothers will be headlining their own alternate broadcast of Monday Night Football this season. So, Corey, what can you tell us about this new deal?
Well, we know Monday Night Football has coveted Peyton Manning for years. And, well, they haven't been able to get him, but they kind of got him now. But it's not on the main broadcast. It's bigger. It's the megacast. It's going to be broadcast on ESPN2. It's going to be about 10 games a year, and it's all going to be produced by Peyton's Omaha production company. It's going to be Peyton and his brother Eli with a studio host yet to be named. I will make myself available if they need me. And they're going to watch each game. They'll talk and react about each game, and they'll also dive into conversation about other things. And like I said, this is going to be 10 games for at least the next 3 years. And it also could find its way onto other ESPN formats if it goes over well and if the demand is there. Peyton Manning starting his next empire, this one off the field in the world of broadcast.
Yeah, pretty cool. And I have to say, as a Nebraskan, I do like the Omaha Productions name. I'm a little biased, probably. All right, Corey, thank you. Well, coming up tonight in Entertainment Nation, Prince Harry confirms he is working on an explosive new memoir, when it's expected to hit store shelves. And did the highly anticipated Space Jam sequel break the box office? How are fans rating the new movie and comparing it to the original MJ classic? In entertainment news, Penguin Random House announcing Prince Harry is writing a memoir. NewsNation reporter Lawrence Zarian from our station KTLA in Los Angeles here with more on Prince Harry's book and our other entertainment headlines. So, Lawrence, pretty explosive interview with Oprah. What can we expect from this new memoir?
It is true the Duke of Sussex is totally going to write a tell-all, and I guarantee you the royal family is quaking in their boots. Now, I could tell you my thoughts, or we could go across the pond, and I could put Prince Harry in his own words. He writes, and I quote, "I'm writing this not as the prince I was born, but as the man I have become. I've worn many hats over the years, both literally and figuratively, and my hope is that in telling my story, the highs and the lows, and all of the mistakes and the lessons I have learned, we can basically all understand that we come from a more common place than you think." So that is what Prince Harry has to say. But I gotta tell you, this is what I gotta say. I cannot wait for next year, 2022, when this book comes out, because finally Prince Harry is telling everyone what we want to know. And if I was a royal family member, I'd be a little nervous right about now.
All right. I mean, am I talking to Lawrence, Prince Harry? I don't know. I was so confused.
Darling, you might want to rack up some miles because we did a VIP trip across the pond.
So impressive there. All right, let's switch gears now. Let's talk box office. The new Space Jam movie dominated in homes and in theaters. Not getting a great review from our floor director, Brandon, here. So, Lawrence, can you tell us how well it did?
Well, let me just tell you something. Black Widow may be a super spy, but LeBron and the Looney Tune gang shot and they scored. And they bumped that movie down to number 2. And as of right now, oh, hold on, I've got a text. Oh, it's from LeBron. And he just said, "Hi, haters." And he was directing that to all the bad reviews. That movie has made, and I quote, $32.7 million.
All right, Lawrence.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi,
I think
haters.
one of those haters may be Brandon, floor director, who's blushing off camera right now. All right, Lawrence, thank you. And also that amazing accent earlier. Well, coming up on Rush Hour, ice cream maker Ben & Jerry's cutting off service to one specific area of the world. Why they're pulling the plug in parts of the Middle East. We continue tonight live from our NewsNation headquarters here in Chicago. Here are some other top stories we are watching right now. The Dow fell 725 points. It is the worst day in nearly 9 months. It's being blamed on fears surging coronavirus cases could hamper economic recovery. The S&P and NASDAQ also suffered their worst single-day drops since May. United Airlines and Carnival Cruise Line, two companies that, of course, both struggled through the pandemic, also had some of the larger losses today. Olympic COVID concerns rising daily. Athletes from around the world starting to arrive in Tokyo, while others are cutting their journey short. After testing positive for COVID, 4 U.S. athletes are now under Olympic health protocols. Tennis star Coco Gauff and WNBA's Katie Samuelson are out after their positive test. USA Gymnastics alternate Kara Aker and USA men's basketball's Zach LaVine are being isolated. A judge in Washington sentenced a man today to 8 months in prison for his role in the Capitol insurrection. Paul Hodgkins is the first person involved in the riots to face jail time today. He pleaded guilty to felony obstruction charges for entering the Senate chambers on January 6th. He maintains he had no plans to enter the Capitol, but he got swept up in the crowd. He was in there, he says, for 15 minutes. Haiti's interim prime minister stepping down. Claude Joseph has led the country since the July 7th assassination of the island nation's president, but he is expected to hand power to neurosurgeon and politician Ariel Henry. That transfer could take place as soon as tomorrow. And no more Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Vermont-based company says they will not renew the lease agreement when it expires at the end of next year, saying it's inconsistent with the company's values for the ice cream to be, quote, sold in the occupied Palestinian territory. It is one of the highest profile company pullbacks on Israel's policy of settling citizens on war-won lands. Well, that is all for Rush Hour tonight. I want to let you know you can follow me on social media. Just search Nichole Berlie. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Next up, the Dahlin Report later tonight on Balance with Leland Vittert, NewsNation Prime and Banfield. And you can check headlines anytime at newsnationnow.com. Have a great night.